Last class, Cosmic Consciousness, October 19th, 1969, Dr. E.W. Blighton, 1 7/8 speed.
This class can also be heard on tape number 602G.
For us tonight, I want to bring to you the finality of things, because I know that from it shall rise what you might say the completed form of what cosmic consciousness is. Not an understanding from my words, but from that which you will glean from within yourself. The intelligent soul, well, I should have turned down my light. The intelligent soul substance received from the Logos an inseparable immaterial and entered thus into being. She is therefore neither corporal nor incorporeal, but comparable to the sun and the stars, which are the product of an immaterial substance. Thus, soul body, which human beings as well as spirits possess, is of shining nature. The vehicle of the soul is contained within the material body of man. Its breath, it breathes. It is life into the lifeless and soulless physical organism becomes soul and contains the harmony of the latter. The life principle of man is the inner being which produces the activity of life in the organism. The inner man consists of an intelligent substance, and an immaterial, transcendental reality of material wealth. This is the immaterial body. The visible material form is the product and image of the interior man. The external form consists of the intellectual, the gross material body. The process of purification of the gross material body and the ethereal body, a separation of living substance and dead matter, is effected, and thus man may render himself capable of having pure intercourse with the Spirit. There is much to say about life, spirit, and its power. Its vitalizing of the blood through and in various parts of our studies, we will find more information regarding this, especially in that part of the physical body of the study, the associating and the assembling of the image and the densified the physiological points of view, or from a spiritual and psychic point of view. We have called the attention to the fact that to emphasize the chemical nature of breathing, or in other words, to view it solely from the materialistic point of view, is as grave an error purely from a spiritual side and ignore the physical or chemical side of man's nature. The system of breathing gives us a great emphasis to the spirit. Those who outlined systems of breathing for the people of India and other nearby Oriental countries were wise enough to understand, however, and proper breathing had to be considered and in its eventuality would bring on great change on the composition, the chemical composition of the body, and the general health. We're also wise enough not to give any emphasis to speak only of the spiritual effects of long breathing exercises, accompanied with a considerable amount of spiritual meditation. We may judge from what is said in the yoga systems and that of the Hindu that the majority of those persons who took up such a system of study were more interested in some form of rapid spiritual development than the improvement of health for service. Looking at their living conditions from the outer standpoint of our modern viewpoint, it would seem to us that the very opposite should have been true, and that they should have been given far more thought of hygiene and sanitation and health than their spiritual nature was being, while their spiritual nature was being developed. However, very generally throughout the Orient, man seems to appease his dissatisfaction with life by trying to raise himself up spiritually and ignore his physical body and even get out of it as soon as possible. This becomes the sanitation and the conditions. The more these people gave thought to spiritual superiority and an attempt to raise themselves to their sorbet conditions by ignoring them, and in the midst of their squalor, disease, famine, and pestilence seems to be the repeated condition of each of these countries, not only India, China, and the Orient in general. While in Japan, we find a modern trend and change and a more or less consolidation of the various spiritual leaders in a unified attempt to bring the nation and its people to a state of and content, even above what they consider as a source of vitality in the blood, exerting other resulting sources of vital. The entire body becomes a moving vehicle which is pointless in its path, but ever moving in various levels. We are frankly told by medical science and by chemistry that if we continue to contaminate the air and poison the air, that several things will happen. Not devitalize the blood and continue with the self-consciousness of gradually die, and the paralysis will take place. A form of temporary insanity due to temporary paralysis and the lack of coordination, both mental systems and other various areas of the breath, and also the life force. You must love God and worship Jesus Christ, His image, and then you get an explanation which is about that long in end. Because it took the clergy years to learn how to give it. Because they couldn't have learned the words in that like the other time. To confuse them with. The entire clergy, this without reservations, and I'll back it up, has built the entire approach for Christ on confusion, so that they would never get there. Because if they had have approached it in any other way, they would have known their son, they would have learned something about of the Lord and the little years of experience. They would have had a touch of the experience of the presence of God, Lord Jesus.